My sister called me in a panic. Your husband is in Paris, with another woman. The words hit me like a punch to the stomach, knocking the breath out of me. My hand froze mid-air, holding the phone, the reality of the situation sinking in like quicksand. I stared at my husband sitting across the room, casually flipping through his phone, oblivious to the storm brewing in my mind. How could this be true? He had been sitting right here beside me, just hours ago. He had smiled, kissed me goodbye, and left for work like any other day. But now, in an instant, everything had changed. I could feel the warmth in my chest drain away, replaced by an icy numbness. My sister's voice trembled on the other end of the line, the disbelief in her words mirroring my own. I don't know what to say. He's sitting right next to her. I can see them in the first-class cabin. I almost dropped the phone. The room around me spun. How was it possible that my husband, the man I had trusted for years, was sitting with another woman in the very place I thought I had a claim to? Paris. Their luxury getaway, a destination I had always dreamed of, but never imagined under such circumstances. Before I could process any more, I heard the door creak behind me. I turned, my heart racing, my breath caught in my throat. Standing there was my husband, dressed in his usual suit, a smile on his face. He walked in, totally unaware of the phone call that had just shattered everything I thought I knew about us. Hey, love, I'm back. I was just finishing some work stuff. His words didn't reach me. My mind was too clouded, my emotions too raw. How could he stand there, acting so normal, when everything inside me was falling apart? I wasn't ready for the confrontation. Not yet. But the truth was clear now. He had betrayed me, and somehow, my sister had seen it before I ever could. Before we continue the story, part of our storytelling community, if tales of strength in the face of betrayal resonate with you, please hit subscribe. It's completely free and helps support more stories of women reclaiming their power. Now, let's see how this unfolds. As my husband walked into the living room, I forced myself to smile. I'm glad you're home, I said, my voice steady despite the storm raging inside me. His smile widened, but there was something off about it. Was he trying to play it cool? Or did he have no idea that I already knew the truth? I didn't want to confront him just yet. I needed more answers, more proof. But the anger building inside me was unbearable. How long had he been seeing her? Was this the first time? My sister had said it was clear. His mistress was sitting next to him on the plane, comfortable, smiling. I could see them now in my mind's eye. Her hand on his arm. Their laughter. The looks they shared. How long had he been lying to me? I tried to stay calm, reminding myself that I had more control than I was letting on. Not yet. Not yet. Wait for the right moment. But everything in me screamed to do something, anything to make him feel the weight of what he had done. The audacity of it. The sheer arrogance of cheating on me while I sat here, clueless, thinking everything was fine. I took a deep breath and grabbed my purse. I'll be in the car, I said, turning to walk out the door. I need some air. As I stepped outside, I could feel the cool evening breeze brush past my face. My thoughts were racing. This isn't just a mistake. This isn't just a slip-up. He planned this. And I would make sure he understood the cost of his actions. I didn't have all the answers yet, but I was going to get them. I wasn't going to just sit back and let him keep lying, pretending everything was fine. I would take control of this. He had betrayed me, but I was about to reclaim my life, my dignity, and my strength. The next few days passed in a haze, a mixture of quiet rage and disbelief. Every time my husband walked through the door, I felt the weight of the secret between us. His smile was the same, his tone unchanged, but I could see the cracks starting to appear. He was trying to pretend everything was fine, but I was no longer the woman he thought I was, silent, compliant, and oblivious. Every night, I would go over the details in my mind. My sister's voice replayed, the words cutting deeper each time. I can see them together in Paris, your husband and this woman. They're sitting in first class. She's holding his hand. The image haunted me. The idea that my husband, the man I had trusted with everything, was now living a double life. I never imagined it would be like this. I thought our marriage was solid. I thought I knew him. But now, everything felt like a lie. I had always been the one who stood by him, supported his career, kept our home warm and welcoming. I had sacrificed so much for him, for us. But now, I was being replaced by a woman I had never met, a woman who had earned nothing of the trust and love I had given freely. As the days passed, I started to prepare myself for what was coming. I couldn't keep pretending. The man I had loved and trusted was no longer the person I thought he was. I didn't want to confront him until I had proof, undeniable, irrefutable proof that I wasn't just imagining things. The thought of him laughing with her in Paris, spending time with someone else while I sat here, felt like a dagger in my chest. I knew the time had come. I needed to do something. I wasn't going to be a passive victim in this situation. The strength that had been quietly growing inside me was now ready to explode. I wouldn't let him destroy me. No, I would make sure he understood the weight of his betrayal. I decided to take matters into my own hands. I reached out to my lawyer and arranged a meeting to discuss the next steps. The documents I needed were ready. My sister had helped me gather everything, every detail, every piece of evidence that would prove my husband's betrayal. I wasn't going to let him think he could get away with this. As I sat in the lawyer's office, my heart raced with anticipation. This wasn't just about divorce. It was about reclaiming my life, my dignity, my sense of self. For years, I had been a wife, a partner, a supporter. Now, it was time to be something else. Strong. Independent. Free. By the time I left the office, I knew exactly what I had to do. The pieces were falling into place. All I needed was the right moment. And I would find it. It wouldn't be long before my husband saw that I wasn't the same woman who had silently endured his lies. I was no longer just a bystander. I was taking control of my story. The days that followed were a whirlwind of emotions. As much as I tried to maintain composure, the silence between my husband and me grew louder with each passing hour. Every word he spoke felt hollow, like he was trying to pretend that nothing had changed. But I knew. I knew what he had done, and nothing would make that go away. The lies, the deceit, the affair, it all loomed over us like a dark cloud, threatening to destroy everything. I could feel the tension rising as he continued to come and go, his behavior growing more erratic. He was trying to act like everything was normal, but I could see it in his eyes. He was avoiding me, and deep down, I knew he was terrified of what was coming. But he had no idea just how prepared I was. It wasn't until one afternoon that everything took a turn. I was sitting in our living room, scrolling through some old photos when I received an unexpected message from my sister. Her words hit me like a ton of bricks. I saw him again. I saw them. This time they were more affectionate. They didn't care who saw them. That was it. The final straw. I could no longer sit idly by. I couldn't pretend anymore. The evidence was undeniable. The woman he was seeing had become a permanent fixture in his life, and I was no longer willing to be the silent wife, the one who turned a blind eye and accepted the crumbs of love he was offering. I had given everything to him, and now he was taking it all for granted. The realization stung, but it also lit a fire in me. He thought he could control this situation, that he could continue living this double life without consequences. But he was wrong. I had made my decision. It was time for me to take charge of my own narrative. I wasn't going to let him have the upper hand any longer. I would make sure he understood the weight of his actions, and the consequences that came with them. This wasn't just about a divorce. It was about my dignity. My strength. My future. I started making the necessary arrangements. My lawyer had already prepared the documents, and I knew the next step was to confront him with the truth. I didn't want to wait any longer. It was time for him to face what he had done and how it had destroyed everything we had built together. The night of the confrontation arrived sooner than I expected. My husband walked in with that same confident swagger, like he owned the world. He hadn't a clue that I knew everything. He hadn't a clue that I had been preparing to take back control. He walked into a home he thought was still his, but what he didn't know was that I had already decided it was mine to reclaim. As he stepped closer, I stood up, my heart pounding in my chest. I didn't need to say much. My calmness was the message. And with the calm came the power I had been hiding for so long. "You're not the man I married," I said quietly, locking eyes with him. "And you're not the man you think you are." His expression faltered, but I didn't wait for him to speak. I placed the evidence on the table between us, the messages, the photos, the bank records, everything. It was his reality now. And there, in that moment, I felt the weight of everything lifting off my shoulders. The betrayal, the lies, the hurt, it was all out in the open, and I was free. The air between us was thick with tension, the kind that only comes when everything is laid bare. My husband stood frozen, the reality of the situation sinking in like cold water. His eyes darted from the evidence to me, his expression one of disbelief and panic. For a moment, he opened his mouth to speak, but the words failed him. He was caught. Cornered. And he knew it. I watched him struggle, unable to come up with an excuse. His face reddened, his hands trembling as he glanced at the evidence on the table. The silence between us was suffocating, but I refused to break it. I wanted him to feel the weight of his actions, to understand the destruction he had caused in our lives. "How long?" I asked quietly, my voice steady despite the chaos inside me. "How long has it been going on?" He shook his head, his eyes shifting uncomfortably. It's not what you think, okay? Please, just let me explain." I stood up slowly, not giving him the satisfaction of seeing me break. "Explain? Explain how you thought it was okay to lie to me for all these years? Explain how you thought I wouldn't find out about your affair? Explain how you thought you could hurt me and still call this a marriage?" His silence was deafening. He couldn't answer me, not because he didn't want to, but because there were no words to fix this. No words to make it better. The damage had been done, and the truth was now undeniable. I wasn't the woman I used to be. The woman who would cry herself to sleep, hoping for change. No. I had transformed into someone stronger, someone who refused to be a victim. "You ruined us," I said, my voice trembling with a mixture of anger and sadness. "And you don't even seem sorry. You don't even seem to care." The realization hit me like a wave. He didn't care. Not about me, not about the life we had built. And it was the moment that I knew I was done. Done pretending. Done forgiving. Done allowing him to tear me down. His gaze softened for a split second, a brief flicker of regret, but it was too late. The truth was out, and I was no longer willing to fight for something that no longer existed. I walked past him, ignoring his attempts to reach out. His hand brushed my arm, but I shrugged it off. He had lost the right to touch me. He had lost the right to any part of me. As I walked toward the door, my heart pounded with finality. The door clicked shut behind me, and for the first time in a long time, I felt the weight of the world lift from my shoulders. I was no longer the woman who waited, the woman who endured. I was free. In the distance, I could hear him calling my name, but I didn't turn back. I didn't need to. I had found my strength, and that was all I needed to move forward. The days that followed were quiet. There was no more pretense, no more pretending that everything was fine. My husband tried to reach out, sending messages, calling, even showing up at the door, but I ignored him. The first time he came home after the confrontation, he stood at the threshold, unsure whether to enter. He was waiting for me to give him some sign, some indication that I was still his wife. But I had nothing left to give him. It was ironic, really. After everything, he thought I was the one who would crumble. He thought I would beg for his attention, his affection, just like I had in the past. But this time, I wasn't the same woman who had once given up everything for him. This time, I stood firm. I had found a strength inside me that I didn't even know existed. Weeks passed, and the divorce proceedings moved forward. The documents, the evidence, the proof, everything was in motion. I wasn't just walking away. I was reclaiming my power. Every step I took in that direction was a reminder of how far I had come, how much I had endured, and how much I was capable of. But then, just as everything was falling into place, he called me one final time. This time, his voice was different. It was soft, filled with something I hadn't heard in years, regret. It was almost as if he had finally realized the enormity of what he had done. "I'm sorry," he said, his voice cracking. "I was stupid. I messed up. I don't deserve you, but I love you. Please, don't leave me." For a moment, I almost felt the pull of the woman I used to be, the one who would have softened and given in. But then I remembered. I remembered everything, the lies, the cheating, the disrespect. And I knew, deep down, that this wasn't love. This was guilt. This was his desperation to hold on to the one thing he thought he could control. "I'm not doing this for you," I said, my voice steady. "I'm doing this for me." The silence on the other end of the line was deafening. And in that silence, I realized that I had already made my choice. I had already chosen myself. That night, I packed my things and moved into a new place, one where I didn't have to live in the shadow of his betrayal. The house I had shared with him was now a place of memories, memories that no longer defined me. I looked in the mirror as I closed the door behind me, and for the first time in years, I saw the woman I had always been, strong, independent, and free. As I stepped into my new life, I knew one thing for sure: I had risen from the ashes of my past, and there was no going back. The woman I had become was unstoppable, and nothing, not even him, could take that from me. If this ending gave you goosebumps, hit the like button right now. My favorite moment was when Adrian said, "You okay, love?" and every face in the room fell apart. What was your favorite moment? Tell me in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe for more powerful, emotional stories of women rising stronger than ever.